Well, this is something I'm really happy to announce, because Victor is besides he is a great professional and a person I really look up to. He's also a great friend. So so no pressure, Victor, but a high expectation from you. But we consider you as an outstanding speaker because of your experience and what we know from you professionally. As a brief introduction of you, I will say, well, Victor is one of the many professionals that after joining the Erasmus program has made a living in the Nordic countries. So it sounds familiar to me as well. Software engineer by education, he has worked in a startup, a consulting company, a governmental organization, at the biggest Finnish software security company. And even had his own LTD company, limited liability company. Victor currently works as a QA lead for Finland's biggest private employer. You can even say, Victor, what is the number of employees, which is quite impressive of your current employer, of SOC. And he leads their QA efforts at SOC when bringing groceries to your doorstep or to the customer's doorstep. Today, in his talk, he's going to explain how to operate with success in extremely regulated environments, as for example, the European Union is. Thank you, Victor, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, David. I just want to know, do you see my screen? And
perfectly.
Do you hear me?
We can see it. We can see it.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here, for inviting to this talk. Thanks to Kairós and for everybody who is around. I was going to say good morning, but I am aware that you are in different parts in the world, so I'll just say hi, and I cannot send warm greetings because here in Finland it's rainy and it's really, really cold. So I have even like some woolen socks on me. Nevertheless, let's get to the meat here. So yeah, a little bit about me. So I am Spanish. I was born in Madrid and moved to Finland in 2005, which is actually quite some time ago. I got a couple of degrees, both from Spain and also from Finland. And I've been doing things with my laptop professionally since 2006, a bit touching different sectors, everything from consulting, being 6 years at a startup, being in a publicly owned casino, and also working in security in this really, really big Finnish security company that is actually publicly listed. And like David said, I am now the lead QA at our food e-commerce SOK group. That is actually the biggest private employer here in Finland. We are about 40,000 people. So the impact is quite big. But let's not talk so much about me. And since I'm a QA, QAs, we are really good at making questions, so we should be good at making questions. So let's make some questions. So why are we here today? That's the first question. Well, because I want to talk a bit about that compliance and QA that Luis already touched a bit earlier can be really good enablers for your business. So we're going to talk a bit about business. Also, we have to understand where in this rapid development and rapid value stream that we are creating with DevOps, how we can bring these two functions in. And also because I want to share some personal hints and experiences that I've been involved. So questions: what is quality? We are talking about quality and we are talking about many other concepts, but what is actually quality? Well, it's a business enabler, but if you're an engineer, the first thing you will do when you want to find what is quality, you will go to Wikipedia and you will get this kind of picture, and it's actually quite overwhelming. It feels like a complex thing. So I want to give you my personal view on what is quality. And quality is a perceptual, conditional, and somewhat subjective attribute that may be understood differently by different people. And this is the real problem, that you can build a digital solution, you can build a product, but when you are targeting different people will perceive it in a different way. So actually you have to be really, really good trying to understand where the value stream is, and how can you get the most of the people perceiving it as the best of the quality. So it's not like a binary question, like, is it good or bad? Because something that for you is really good today, let's say or something that is really good for you a few years ago, like the first iPhone, right now it will be really slow and bad, right? Because we are used to these really fast devices. And this is a concept that actually touches our human condition, right? I mean, quality is something human based. It's us, it's your customers or your users who are actually deciding whether quality is good or quality is bad for them. But hey, one more question. What is compliance? I will go to Wikipedia this time. I actually went to the Cambridge Dictionary. And it is the act of obeying an order, rule, or request. So actually, this is really a binary concept. I mean, you are either compliant or not compliant. You are not a little bit compliant. So, when I tell my kids to clean their room, either they clean it or not. I'm giving them a sort of a compliant request. And this is different than quality, because quality has different scales. Maybe you like your iPhone today a bit less than what you like it yesterday. But either the room is clean or it is not clean. So now when we know what compliance is, what is a compliance regulated environment and which are the agents that are actually there. Typically it's an authority. So there is some kind of like governmental body that decides like, okay, for this sector, we need to have some rules because it's a special, there is something that we need to regulate. And the fun thing here is the authority has two roles. First is actually regulating, is telling us how to do things, but at the same time, it's going to actually control us. It's going to tell us, okay, you are compliant or you're not. It's like me when I go and check whether the room is clean. Then it's of course your business, your company, your products, your services, because they are deployed in a compliance regulated environment. Your internal controllers, so it's not only the authority who is controlling you, it's also you can have your own internal controllers. So you think about banking, you have a lot of accountants that are going to be double checking, triple checking even that you are doing the things properly. And sometimes you have certification bodies. So this is basically, a company that makes money out of you in exchange for a stamp that tells that you are compliant to this regulation. And last, but actually not least, your users. Because your users need to do also some actions that are, under the regulation umbrella. Like let's say like answering to this kind of due diligence questionnaires or sending a photocopy of their passport or things like this. This is actually because somebody has said you have to do it, due to regulation. So why do we even care about businesses in a compliance regulated market? Well, we always have a context when we are doing business, and our context is getting more and more regulated. So like I said a bit, like regulation is a set of rules given by our context. And they can be in a different level. It's like an onion. They can be a local, regional, national, European, a bit what Carlos was already into earlier. Now we have this opportunity with this next gen funds, but probably they're going to come with some kind of condition that we have to follow, and they come from Europe. But if you want to actually open a bar here in Finland, then you have to comply to the local regulation, and you cannot sell alcohol after 10 o'clock in the evening. But the most important thing here is because there are business opportunities that are directly connected to regulated markets. So actually, there is an opening for you who are doing business. Another good question will be actually, is regulation a good or a bad thing? Well, it gives you and your business a framework. You know the rules. You are in control. You know exactly what you are up to. Then it makes the regulator or the authority feel that they are doing their job, because actually their job is to sort of be the judge, putting the boundaries in some context. but it makes the consumer feel safe or even be safe. So what does it mean? That you want to create a relationship with your consumers, this is going to be something that you can use on your own benefit. So all in all, it is a good thing, actually. Let's take one example. For instance, like a COVID vaccine. We have a business opportunity. We need a COVID vaccine. We have a pandemic and we have to find a remedy. So you can make a COVID vaccine, you can save lives and you can make money out of it. So there's a business opportunity. And actually, like someone spoke earlier, you have a purpose, you have a vision, with your company. And then you have a health regulator that will define the process you have to follow, to create this vaccine so the final consumer is safe. So this kind of context, this kind of environment is actually a place where business opportunity can be nurtured and grow. Then apply the same thing to banking. Banking is a really heavily regulated area. Or maybe tobacco, alcohol, drugs, these kind of things, like in different countries, will be subjected to regulation. And then you could just put your business name here, because probably I can't really come across any business area that won't be touched by any regulation. I think about GDPR, for instance. It's all over the place. So why is this a business enabler here? And it's because what I told you already, but I think this is the third part, is the most important one. It makes the consumer feel safe. And if you want to establish this relationship with your customers, you want to do it, so that they last long. And when you feel them safe, you have this relationship that's going to take forever. Here, especially in Nordics, I see this very often because there are not that many companies offering the same service. So sometimes you have like let's say take two competitors offering you one thing. So actually, if you are able to bring a customer to your ground, then you're going to build a real long-lasting relationship. So compliance regulation is like, like a lifeguard when you go with your kids to the swimming pool. You want to do something. You want to go to a swimming pool and you want to have fun with your kids, but they are sort of backing you up, for that activity. So that's why it is enabling you. But I am a QA. So what is QA in all this? This is also a really good question. Well, I told you earlier that this is my definition of quality. But there is a small change here, that now when we are in a regulated environment, we are not only talking to people, we are also talking to regulators. So all of a sudden, your products or solutions are perceived by your new best friend, a regulator, an authority. And don't laugh. I mean, this is for sure. This is a bit like something that this definition also applies to them. The same solution may be perceived differently by different regulators. I've been working with authorities in Spain, Switzerland, in Baltics, and it's totally different. I mean, the relationship that you are going to have with these people that they are from Spain, okay, I'm Spanish, is really different to the ones that we have, for example, in Switzerland, because they have another mindset, another culture that also influences here. The same with Baltics, that is more like hierarchical. And also you have to think like, for the regulators, some of them may be interested in the financial aspects of the regulation. For instance, you have to pay some taxes out of your activity. So they want to be sure that you are actually declaring the right figures. But maybe in a different one, if we talk about the bar downstairs here at my place, it's about the user safety. So they don't want people to bring too much alcohol. So which are the challenges here? Well, regulation is usually very, very thorough. It leaves little space for mistakes. As I told you earlier, it's black and white. It's binary. And then the feedback you get from the regulator comes very late. Usually, we were talking earlier that you should, do this deployment of digital solutions really fast, and you should like fail fast, and you should get the feedback fast. Here, it is not the case. You may get a notice from the regulator, yeah, you have done something wrong 2 months later. But on other sectors, maybe they're looking at you the whole time. And the real thing is that you may have like little space to react, but the impact in your business can be massive. You can, have like really big fines. You can even lose your activity license for some activities that are subjected to a license. So you have to do something about this. What can we do? Well, Luis was earlier talking about DevOps as sort of a big framework that has changed how we develop and deliver solutions to our customers in the last years. But actually, DevOps has been a bit used as a sandwich. Think about Dev as and Ops as the two breads of a sandwich, and people have started, to put things in the middle. So I'm going to talk about Dev QA Ops. So it is a bit, this situation we have had that QA has been historically at the end of the production line. So we build something, we define something, we design something, we maybe check if this is a good idea, then we build it, and finally we ship it to the QA team, and we tell them, hey, this is good enough. And they eventually will do it, will test it, and then send it to production. But the thing is that QA or compliance, they're not plugins. This is not something you can just say, okay, now we have to do compliance. Now we have to do QA. We don't buy it as a service. It's something that it has to be built in, because you have to be ahead of the regulators. So you have to be able to catch things before they do. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble, as I told you earlier. So QA has to be present and needs to assess compliance throughout the whole software development lifecycle. Something like this, this is actually a really good illustration by Dan Ashby. And Luis also shows something similar. So we test all over the place, from the moment we plan, we build, we merge, we code, we release, we deploy the whole time. And we have to have this thought of, okay, we are in a regulated environment. We have to be aware, that when we are planning, we have some rules. So if I know that the day I send 2,000 euros to my Spanish account, somebody is gonna check it in the bank. So we need to have that kind of test scenario that is actually gonna check that an alarm is raised because somebody has to be sure that this is not money laundering or something similar. So some hints. Well, test for compliance, but also monitor for compliance, follow up on compliance metrics. So have this also when you follow up. Sometimes we have this problem when we develop software that we are building things, we kind of test them even, and we deploy them, and sometimes we forget a bit about it. But this is not really a good idea. You have to go all the way until production monitoring, and just to be able to react fast if you have any disturbance. Just because of this, to detect the errors and correct them proactively. It is a very good sign for the regulator to say that, hey, I'm looking into this. So this has happened to us many times in the past, or to my teams. Like, a hard drive blew up, database got collapsed, and then we just send an email, hey, we are having troubles. We are looking into it. And typically the regulator will tell, okay, thank you for informing. And that's always way better than just get an email or get your legal department page like, hey, where are my reports? I need to get them, or where are my information on? You are not having this mandatory functionality in your site, for instance. So yeah, do that. And important also, do not reinvent the wheel. There are actually companies that they are experts in integrating solutions with the regulator systems. And these regulator systems, typically, they are rather old. So these these companies, they are experts in handling with that. Sometimes it's just like an FTP. You have to send your file somewhere. So don't try to implement everything from scratch. Check a bit the market. Do I have anyone who can support me in the healthcare regulation about how to submit this? A bit like what Kairós said. Like this kind of companies like Kairós probably can help you with this. Also, important thing. You are dealing with humans. So when you have a regulator on the other side, it's not like a big brother. It's actually a real person. So work on that relationship because it's going to be beneficial for you in the long time. And yeah, there's a lot of legal aspects that have to do with compliance. And sometimes we are building digital solutions, and we, tech people, we may not be the best ones when it comes to legal, but create the bridges. Put the people in the same room to talk. In my prior companies, we have had like a weekly meeting where we discuss, okay, there is this kind of legal problem. Do you find the technical reason for that? Because that human relationship with the legal people helps us a lot. But I think also it helped them, because they were able to understand how bad or how simple, from a technical point of view, we can fix this problem. So just to wrap it up, compliance is a good thing. It gives you a framework of rules and empowers your businesses and will help you to build the trust with your users. Embrace the DevQA ops, looking at compliance needs all over the software development cycle, and be ahead. Be proactive, show goodwill, and use technical solutions for doing that. So you actually save time, as Luis spoke earlier. He actually said this interesting thing. He said, like, you develop, you run it. I would say, like, you develop, you run it, and you're responsible for the quality and the compliance of your solutions. So that was everything I had for today. If you have any questions, I will be super happy to answer to them. And thanks again for inviting me here.
Thank you very much, Victor. I'm checking now. There are no questions. We have actually shy audience, but I will actually come up with a question for you. How do you feel? You were talking about, of course, the compliance regulations in the European Union in different countries that you would bring as an example. How do you feel that is that compliance regulation is going to be developing in the next few years?
I don't see it decreasing, at least, because
yeah,
now we are having more and more common efforts, and I know there's a lot of discussions and a lot of lobbying, around certain topics. So I don't see it getting lightweight, to be frank. So there is a future for us who are developing technical solutions for compliance regulated environments or markets. What is going to happen probably is that in certain areas we have currently national regulations. It could be that they standardize in European regulations for this. So that's going to be
that makes sense.
It's going to make it easier for us to actually implement platforms that we can deploy to different markets. So solving some development costs, for instance, will be great if we see this to happen.
And of course, like before we wrap up, I think I will get the the license and answer you yet another question.
You have the license.
Thank you. Do you have any horror story from the trenches that you can share? Anything that how do you handle a situation where you can't comply with the regulation and you get caught by it? So it's something that you could, maybe you cannot share the stories, but if there's something that you could share, it would be very interesting for us to hear.
Well, we are humans, right? So we make mistakes, and sometimes all the planets, they are not aligned. So for instance, people go on vacation, and people who have been working with certain systems go to the other side of the world on vacation, and then everything blows up, and then you don't know why. So it's Christmas time, of course, because everything has to be aligned. So it's Christmas time, people are, in the other side of the world, and all of a sudden you are missing some transactions, some financial transactions, and you don't know where they are. And you check your logs, you check, everything is supposed to be fine. And then after like a week of investigations, you see in a AWS log, you see a little line that says your instance was rebooted. And then you send a ticket to the AWS support and just, hey, what happened here? I see this little line. And there's, yeah, you have a hardware problem and we just rebooted, we just moved you to a different instance. So it took like, 7 days for the 2 people that were on call just to understand, like, we had lost some data that we were able to recover. But sometimes, we have this machinery, like huge, state machines and things like this, kind of complicated technical solutions that are moving data from one side to another one. And everything is really like, one machine in some data center at Amazon just had a problem, reported, and just dropped one line in the log. That was a lot of sweat and long evenings, I can tell you.
I can imagine. Yeah, of course. And some of these horror stories, might actually, depending on the industry, might be extremely expensive.
Yes, that's actually the big risk here.
Yeah. Thank you very much.